Learn how to manage the fucking business.
Right.
Because nothing else matters except for profit.
You live and die daily.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what type of chicken steak you can make.
Hello, chefs. This is Chef's PSA, and I'm your host, André Natera. Today, I'm joined by identical twin chefs, Brandon and Jonathan Dearden, both competitors on the current season of Top Chef. Brandon is the chef and co-owner of Ember and Grano, and a recent James Beard Award semifinalist for Best Chef Mountains, while Jonathan serves as corporate chef for KNEAD Hospitality and Design. In this episode, we're going to talk about twin rivalry, their very different career paths, fine dining, restaurant leadership, and marketing yourself. Stay tuned.
So who's a better chef? Who's a better cook between the two of you?
I'm gonna kick his ass every day.
Yeah,
every day. Listen, I'm gonna fight to the death.
Who would win in a real fight?
Well, it's I'd probably win in a real fight, but the thing is we've been super competitive our whole life, right? But to go back to the beginning, see, Jonathan was smart when he got out of high school. He went straight into culinary school, and I was working in a restaurant, but I skipped I skipped that part. So Jonathan actually, we went two different paths. So he decided to go right into culinary school right after high school.
I did take a year off though.
I know.
I went when I was 19, but I enrolled when I was 19.
I didn't. I dropped out of high school, and
got that good enough diploma.
Which
is okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, it gets you to culinary school.
But to make a long story short, he was a sous chef by what age?
19.
19.
I was right within my first year of culinary school. I was already a sous chef, and listen, it wasn't. I got lucky because I worked my ass off. Like, it wasn't like, oh, this guy's great. No. I was like working the grill overtime. So they hustled me. They put me on salary. I ended up making less money than I did at hourly, but I wanted the position.
It's that classic salary trap, right?
Oh my God. They're like, yeah, you can make this amount per week. My salary, I'll never forget, it was $550 a week. Okay. Which is nothing.
Yeah.
What
is that annually?
It's like what, 30 something, like 28, 27, and I was making more money working overtime, working two jobs. And once I got put on that, I couldn't even pay my mortgage, but I wasn't.
Wait, you had a mortgage when you were 19?
Yeah. I bought a condo when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, bro, winning.
Yeah.
But it was funny because after I figured out what direction I wanted to go, and I wanted to go in fine dining. And so you're not getting a sous chef position I worked years, but I went, luxury resort, Michelin-level. And so I call it the apprenticeship, but I worked at the Breakers Palm Beach for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And I worked every single outlet, ended up in L'Escalier, which was the French restaurant. And I was still a cook, I was still a base level cook. Mm-hmm. And this dude was,
and the Breakers is a legendary property.
So legendary.
And it was, and for me, I learned so much within that, I'll be honest, it was 8 restaurants at the time. I pretty much knew, 90% of the outlets and opened a couple of them. But, for me, it was like I had capped out. Right. Yeah. Like, I wanted a sous chef position. It was never going to happen. And it's because I was, addicted to drugs and alcohol. And I went down this just terror. I got a DUI when I was 20. So they looked at me as like trouble. Yeah. Right. But thankfully, with insurance and everything, I was able to go to rehab and, stay out of prison and get my life on track. And so I actually, Cafe Balut is right down the street. But I was like, okay.
In Florida,
Palm Beach. Yeah. And so I actually went right down the street because I was like, hey, if you don't have a position for me, I'm just going to, it's my time. And I went right down the street and I learned more in 6 months at Cafe Balut than the whole time at the Breakers. Don't get me wrong, I learned professionalism, but when it comes to actually cooking and
technique
and mise en place and French technique and all of this, and then plus I think I had it was a blessing because we were opening DB Bistro in Miami, and so Danielle was there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what changed everything, right? Because
is the kitchen not to give all the DB secrets away. I'm sure it's a different vibe when he's there and when he's not there.
Oh yeah,
1,000%.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he would tell me stories, man. It was like,
it's crazy. And this was back in the day, so rules and regulations were a little bit different,
Sure. And there was no cell phones. No one was pulling them out.
Nobody could record you. You had a flip phone.
There's no proof.
Yeah.
Like, witnesses didn't happen.
No receipts.
And what was funny is I knew this kitchen was so serious when I walk in the kitchen, and then there's a piece of blue tape that stretches along the kitchen, and guess what it was? It was separating pastry from savory. So the pastry chef at the time, Arnaud, I think was his name, you weren't allowed to go on his side. You know what I mean? You couldn't touch it. Everything that had a piece of blue tape on it was his.
No stealing cookies. No,
nothing.
Just fucking, can I have that?
None of the savory. And I was like, okay. I was like, dang. So you can't even prep over here. Don't touch it. Yeah. And it was just, I was like, okay. So
I want to ask, Whose idea was it to become a chef between the two of you? Because identical twins, for people that haven't figured it out yet, right? Identical twins. At a certain point, one of you had the idea, the light bulb went off, said, I'm going to be a chef.
Yeah.
So that was actually me. And we were, so just a little backstory. My mother and father are separated. We used to go visit my dad on the weekends. And he was not a car salesman, but the service manager. And then on the weekends, he would work at this place called Dax Grill in Virginia.
Yeah.
And we would visit him on the weekends. And
Family owned restaurant. So they made everything from scratch, but it was very simple food, but everything was made from scratch.
And we were young at the time, like 12 is when we started like actually like sweeping the floor and being part,
Doing
like helping
dishes.
out, doing dishes. And then, I remember us being busboys, to start. And then, I was just so intrigued with, like the yelling and the screaming and the tickets and the short order cooking inside the kitchen. And I'm
Well,
like,
these cooks weren't cooks.
Yeah,
they were like short order cooks.
I
They
mean-
were like,
Kitchens are brutal right now. Everyone knows it. Fewer people on the line, margins tighter than ever, and somehow the expectations keep going up. There's just no room to miss anymore. I was talking to a chef recently who said the biggest stress wasn't the volume, it was the mental load. Babysitting food, timing everything perfectly, trying to be everywhere at once. And that's where equipment matters more than people want to admit. Rational's technology comes up a lot in those conversations. The iCombi Pro, the iVario Pro, overnight roasts that don't need to be checked, custom programs for all your recipes, consistency without hovering, completely automated cleaning, monitoring everything from your phone, the list goes on. And what really buys you the headspace? Less standing over pans and more time to lead the kitchen instead of constantly putting out tiny fires. When you're down to cook, when the prep list is rough, when the production ramps up, think Rational.
we learned, saute is French for deep fry. This is the kind of cooks we were dealing with. They would throw a whole thing of mushrooms in the fryer and call them sauteed mushrooms. Okay. This is the cooks that we were
Yeah, the steak, well done. Throw it in the fryer.
like
well,
hammered, like,
but just to circle back. So like, well, somebody called out in the kitchen, obviously, and then I had a chance to step up, and I remember my first, like, he's like, well, I just need help cleaning this fryer, and I was so excited to clean this fryer because I was just part of it, and it was back in the day where you used to filter it and then put it back in with like, it was crazy contraption, and from that day I was just addicted, man. Like anything that, like, I don't know what it was, I was just addicted to the adrenaline and like the guy yelling out the tickets and the food going up and like the banter back and forth between the cooks, and like for me, I was like, I got the bug, and it was funny because my brother saw how much fun I was having in the back of the house, because I remember skipping homecoming to work the line because somebody called out, and I was just hooked. But I will say, I learned so many bad habits off the jump that I had to get retrained. I remember the one thing that I learned
When you were at cafe, did you throw the mushrooms in the fryer?
Absolutely not. But I will say,
so imagine.
so we had barbecue, we had wings, deep fried wings on the menu, right? Which is great. But the cook taught me that you take the portion bag with the 10 wings in it, and then you dip a little bit in the fryer so it melts it, and then the chicken wings fall in.
Oh, super good hack.
And so, that's the way I was taught. And so I get to a fine dining steakhouse, and we had a chicken wing app. And I remember doing this. I'm like, oh, no, you just do this. And then I put the bag in the fryer, and the chef looks at me. He went to CIA, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, and I was like, well, this is how it's taught, chef. And I was 16 at the time, right? And he's like, great. Now drop the fryer and put new fryer oil in there. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, now you're going to put plastic in people's food. He's like, oh my God. Like, he's like, this is like, he was just mind blown. And so I'm like, dang, like, I didn't know, because I had no idea, same thing.
the way you were taught.
Yeah. Same thing with like, just with everything. And so I knew.
When you're a young kid and you have never worked in a kitchen before and you see these little tricks.
Yes.
I mean, I remember what my first kitchen job, they would pre-portion the pasta in kits, right? Pre-cook it and then pre-portion it. And I remember I went home, bought a bunch of pasta, cooked it, and put it in little bags, and had it in my fridge like that. Like, oh, whenever anyone comes over, watch this.
It's like one order or two orders.
Yeah.
So quickly, I want to go back to Brandon and his DUI situation.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, as a twin brother, and I love this guy. He needed to drive to work, but his car got repoed. They took his license from him.
Suspended for 5 years.
He convinced me to give me my car and my license. Okay. True story. I get pulled over and he's like, hey, your license is suspended. I'm like, what do you mean my license is suspended? Like, no, it's not. I have a clean record. He's like, no, it's suspended. He's like, I can look at it. Let me get right back to you. He's like, yeah, you had a ticket in West Palm Beach. I lived in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. He rolled a stop sign, got a ticket, didn't pay it. My license was suspended and I had to go to West Palm Beach to pay the ticket. And I had to tell this cop because they were like, they were going to arrest me because it's a criminal offense in Florida.
Oh no.
With knowledge. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be truthful. And hopefully you can believe me. I have a Facebook picture to prove it, but we're twins. And I gave him my license and my car. He's like, okay, that's crazy. He gave me a warning. He's like, but go take care of this ticket. Man, I was so mad. So to the people out there, do not give somebody your license and your car. Like literally my car. We switched cars because he wasn't allowed to drive his car. So I drove his car in Fort Lauderdale with my license and he drove my car.
I was breaking the law.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, I feel bad for that situation, just so you know, but I ended up,
of course
it's because at the Breakers Resort, like on Palm Beach Island, it's super nice. But then once you cross the bridge, there's what we call Tamarind Avenue, where you can get crack cocaine and on all that stuff. Right. And so like, there was always police, stopped up there. So like they'd be pulling over people just to do it.
What are you doing here?
And so, I ended up riding a bike for 5 years, but it worked out pretty good.
But I say that story now and I'm like, why the hell did I do that?
Yeah. So Jonathan split off and he was already a sous chef. Then he had an opportunity to go to Jade Mountain in St. Lucia to be executive
Well, I worked
chef.
with Chef Alan first.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like my mentor. So I knew like right away, like he was chasing Michelin star, James Beard, he wanted like, his caliber is fantastic. He worked with, what was the first chef besides Boulud? Then it was Charlie Palmer.
Yep.
And then you went to Vegas and worked with Wolfgang.
Yep.
And then you made the crazy idea to take he had a nice executive sous salary in Vegas to go work at Alinea for $8.50 an hour. Crazy.
Good decision.
Yeah. It was
Probably
worth
the
it.
best decision of your entire life.
Yeah. Because I wanted to do it, but I ended
What
up.
year were you in Alinea?
So I want to say it was like 2011, 2012.
2012, because we cooked at the James Beard house, and then you went to go work at Alinea after.
Yeah. And, I had went before. So when I was still living in Florida at Cafe Blue, we knew we wanted to get out of Florida. So I went to go stage at a bunch of places. Yeah. Joel Robuchon in Las Vegas. I went to D.C., New York, Danielle, Cafe Blue over there. And then in Chicago, I fell in love. I staged at True. I also staged at L2O, which was freaking
one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. L2O.
Yeah, well, that's a great restaurant.
Listen,
Kirkley was the chef when I ate.
Kirkley was just stepping up into Laurent Gras' position, but Laurent Gras was still there when I was there.
He's a motherfucker.
And dude, but it came full circle because he remembered me.
Yeah.
When I was working at Saison, and I almost because like for people that don't know, Laurent Gras is he's like my superhero. He's he's
the chef.
He's a legend.
He's
like
the chef.
Yeah, and honestly, I get chills just thinking about it. When I remember like a pinnacle in my career is when I'm breaking down hamachi, and he's on one side, Joshua Skeens is on the other side, and I'm breaking this hamachi down.
What's crazy is people that listen to this show will have probably heard Laurent Gras' name in a legendary status, more so than people realize.
Yeah.
Breeden talked about him. I'm trying to think who else talked about. One of the we had. People don't know he was Ducasse's chef.
Yeah, right. He got him the most Michelin stars
at Louis Kahne's.
Yeah.
Like when Ducasse was like taking over the world, like Laurent Gras was the fucking man.
Yes.
Yep. People don't realize like that's a name. He was the first person that ever had that digital cookbook.
Yeah.
And you remember that blog he had?
Yes,
100%.
Yeah. I mean, the guy rides his bike everywhere and he's just a legend. And what he does with food is amazing. He looked like a ninja when he was in L2O, like a ninja suit. It wasn't even a chef jacket.
It was all black.
But he remembers me because I remember Matthew Kirkley, the guy I was working with on Garmager, I was staging, but he was fucking up this crab salad. Like, I mean, and it was so easy. It was crab and avocado and grapefruit segments or something like that. It was like super easy. And Matthew's like, you're fucking the salad up, and he's like, I don't recall, but I remember just telling him like, dude, I can make this. Like, it's really easy. And I'm like, you just have to follow instructions. Like, it's not hard. And so I started plating him up. And then, Laurent Gras, he saw it and he's like, no, this is great. This is great. Like, and he gave the thumbs up. But when we were opening up the Anglers at Saison and he came in to take over for Joshua Skeens, I'm like, chef, do you remember me? I was at L2O, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, crab salad. And I'm like,
yeah, dude, that must've been like a fanboy moment, right?
Yeah. How did I miss? I think I'm in an alternate time. I don't remember him being at L2O. I'm sorry, at Saison.
Yeah. So 2017, he took, so Joshua Skeens, and this is why I like, and I'll get into this later, but this is when I lost respect for a little bit of Michelin when this happened. But Joshua Skeens was working on 2 new angler projects. And so I was hired on as the executive chef for Los Angeles. And, but I had to train at Saison and then also help with San Francisco. But Laurent Gras was taking over Joshua Skeens' spot at Saison. And then they lost their 3rd star and only got 2. With Laurent Gras, exactly. And I was like, I remember talking to Paul. I was like, it's so unbelievable to me that, you know, they, of course, when the chef leaves, they lose a star. I get that. But like for Laurent Gras, like, dude, that's
the guy who
that literally like took all the credibility out of my soul, man.
The
like,
guy who's gotten 3 stars at L2O and Louis Kahns and, and who knows where else, right?
Yeah.
And Peacock Alley. I mean, I know they didn't get 3 stars at Peacock, but I mean, he's a guy
still, dude, he's like, I mean, when it comes to seafood, this guy's the man. But anyway, that's what happened. So Laurent Gras took over. And they lost a star, and you know a lot of people were upset, but they weren't as upset as like you know, if you're a young cook and young chef and you're looking towards Michelin as like the pinnacle, you know, this is frustrating. Like I wasn't even mad about like the chicken cart getting a Michelin star, the tacos getting a Michelin star, but like Laurent Gras is like, dude, he is decorated.
But what was the? I'm sure there was a narrative.
Yeah.
And it might have been a real narrative or it might have just been on the streets.
Yeah.
What was the narrative as to why he lost a star? Was there like, how did people justify this?
So what I was told is that every time a chef leaves, they lose a star or something like that, or the stars go with them and then they get re-awarded. And so, I blacked it out of my mind because I was so upset.
Did L2O not get 3 stars in their first year?
You know what? I'm not sure. That was so long ago, but I remember L2O having 3 stars.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just crazy to me, like, especially at Saison held three Michelin stars for, you know, it was like 2014 through 17.
Per se got it. Per se, Le Bernardin, I mean, French Lottery, they got 3 stars first year.
Yeah, 100%.
So how I mean, I don't know. Anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And like we could, but it was, Laurent Gras is the man. I remember I'm used to breaking down my fish with a slicer knife, Mizuno slicer, right? Yeah. But he's like, do you have a Deba knife? And I'm like, I do, chef. He's like, you should use that, but I don't like to use the Deba. But he's like, it's more comfortable. But I knew how to do it because I've learned how to break down, especially hamachi with a Deba. But I did it anyway. You know, I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I got a Massimo Deba, no problem. Like, let's do the Massimo Deba. And like, it was just funny. Man, I was sitting there like, shaking because I'm just like, dude, I can't believe both these chefs are watching me. You know, we did like cured kombu and we were doing research development, but it was just like, man, like walking the farmer's market with Laurent Gras and watching him get excited about like smelling vegetables and tasting.
Now? Does anyone
I think
know?
He's back in New York, but I'm not sure. I mean,
is he still chefing?
I think, you know, I'm not sure. I know he was working on some like tableware and stuff, but I really haven't been following him, you know, but great chef, man.
So here's I want a hot take.
Yeah.
So you went to culinary school.
Yes.
Did you go to culinary school?
Yeah, I actually got smart, and I knew back in the day you had to go. You're supposed to go to culinary school, but I was smart, so I knew that I didn't have enough money to go to CIA or Johnson and Wales, so I went to the Florida Culinary Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Yeah. And where did you go?
I went to the Art Institute in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. Okay. So culinary school. Did it help you? Did it hurt you? Was it just general orientation?
So I think education is important on all levels. Do you need to go to culinary school to cook? No. But did it help me throughout my career and push me further in my career? Yes. And what pushed me further more was the marketing, the business aspect. You know, I knew how to cost a recipe when I was, 20 years old because that's what I learned at school and then I applied it as a sous chef in my real life. So it helped me for my career and like push me forward. And I was going to go back to what Brandon said is like, I knew that I wanted to manage kitchens, not just be a great cook, and I kind of like, I was an executive chef by the age of 22, so did I know what I was doing? Hell no. Did I know how to cook? Absolutely. But I didn't know anything about food cost, labor, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but I knew in my mind, my heart, soul that I wanted to move up the chain. So, he's over there, working at Alinea and I'm paying his rent.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's funny.
he can't even wash. He's like, I gotta choose between darks and whites this week because I don't have enough money to do 2 loads. And I'm like, dang, bro. I'm like, so I was like giving him money because I was supporting his dream, but I was living vicariously through him. I wasn't willing to give.
He was making bank in St. Lucia. He wasn't like he was broke too. He was making bank tax free.
Yeah.
So
tax-free money, man. It was beautiful, but also that's where my career jumped off.
Have you guys ever worked together?
No,
but not necessarily. Not necessarily. We've done dinners together and stuff, but like, we're 2 different types of chefs.
Yeah.
And so but what's crazy to go back to culinary school, I went to culinary school and I already had like the prerequisite to go to culinary. Like I already knew how to prep, knife work, all that stuff. What was valuable for me is not spending a ton of money, right? Because I don't care what anybody says, the ROI is not there. When you get out of culinary school, you are starting as a prep cook, you're starting at the bottom. But what was valuable for me is I actually went back because I already had all the prerequisites of class. I went back for international baking and pastry. And so I took a 9-month program that really set me up for success in the future because when it came to pastries and baking, like, you know, I can make chocolate chip cookies like right now. Like,
By the way, I dogged him for that. I was like, baking and pastry, like that's stupid.
Well,
you know, like why would you waste your time on that? You know, like just.
And it's really gotten me far because I can't explain, you know, especially at Alinea, you know, like Alinea, like I started working I was working the hot app station, and this is a funny story because like the chocolate guy didn't show up, and nobody else everybody was savory chefs, right? And so they're like, and I remember Chef Matt was like, is our 12 o'clock meeting? He's like, does anybody know how to temper chocolate? And I shot my hand up. I'm like, yeah, chef, I do. I don't sous vide it, but I can temper chocolate, you know? And he's like, well, you're making the chocolate balls. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And if you work pastry, you know that pastries don't start until mid-service, 7:30.
Right.
And so I would set up my station first, and then I go downstairs in the wine room and make the chocolate balls. But they had a specific technique on how to temper the chocolate, and they double bagged it and then put it in the circulator, which respectfully I thought was stupid. You want to keep chocolate far away from water, and then plus, like a double boiler just works. Like it's just it's really easy to do. But like anyway, so I'm down in the I'm down in the wine room making chocolate because it's a controlled room, right? And it's funny because, like, you know, the chef is like, you know, he's testing the ball. I'm like, chef, I know it's going to be good. That was the time when we did like a chestnut dessert where we broke the chocolate ball on the table, you know, and I know I only needed 40, and they were with balloons. Like it was easy, like for me, as you know, but nobody else knew how to temper chocolate. And, you know, I knew these temperatures like the back of my hand because I went to pastry school, right? Yeah. And so it's just really funny because we had these little birthday chocolates too, and we ran out. And usually the chocolate guy makes it. And so I'm in the middle of service. Pastry guy next to me is like, shit, I don't have any more birthday balls. And I'm like, dude, it's easy. So on my station, I got the induction double boiler, but the sous chef comes over. He's like, we don't do it this way, chef. And I'm like, I know, but chef, I'm not going to go set up a circulator down in the basement to double bag chocolate and then run down and wait an hour and a half for it to be tempered when I only need a quarter of a cup, you know? And then, so it was funny because Chef Matt, you know, he's like, make sure you double check, make sure. And I'm like, it's just a ball. Like it's, you know, it's like a bonbon, but a circle. Yeah. And it was so funny because I just thought in my head, like, you know, as, you know, coming to Alinea as a sous chef, there's a lot of young managers that just shouldn't be they just shouldn't be managers.
You were the sous chef?
No, I was not. No, I was just a chef de partie.
Yeah, okay.
But from what I know now, and not to, you know, everybody's just doing the best they can there, but like, if I would have known what I know now, I would have talked to Grant himself about like what I wanted to do there, because there was too many layers, you know, and you have to make, you know, like when as soon as Mike Bagel, I should say, as soon as he got promoted, I knew was over for me. Right. I was like, okay, this is going to take years because, you know, Chef Simon was behind him, you know what I mean? And so I knew that, okay, well, there's only Next and Avery. And so I'm like, man, it's going to take years to get into a position, you know, and like, you know, what I learned there was excellent. And, you know, and
you were there, I mean, when Alinea was like
pumping, number 7 in the world. Yeah. I mean, it was pumping, but I will admit, man, I saw so much talent get chewed up and spit out. Yeah. And especially one guy, I remember one guy, Caleb, man, he's the chef de cuisine at Schwa now. And I just saw him on Instagram. I'm like, oh shit, Caleb, dude, I remember training this guy, and he looked at me, he's like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. This is stupid. Yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, chef, it's okay. Just stay with me, you know, because I appreciated stages. You know, I want to talk to people because it's a silent kitchen. But I remember him walking out, but he was talented, you know, and he's a chef de cuisine at Schwa now, but it was a very difficult kitchen to work in. And if you didn't change your mindset, like you're not going to make it, right? Like
you had 100%. Every single thing, every decision that you made was Alinea focused. Yeah. And I worked with Brandon for a week because I wanted to understand it. So I took a vacation, worked with him for a week.
My man was like, hey, this is you. Hey,
bro, we clean the kitchen. Hey, we clean the kitchen so much, but it taught, like, listen, I have a high level of respect. There's one thing to be able to cook very good, but to master the artistry of cooking and deliver a performance like that for a dining experience, I knew right away this wasn't for me. You know, I'm like, I don't vibe well with 3 Michelin star restaurants.
It was for me. Look,
he loved it.
Dude, when I did my 2-day stage, I thought I was a good cook. I thought I was, you know, because I would run circles around people and I would cook my ass off.
You had kitchen hustle.
Brother, but when I walked in that back door, my first stage day, and I saw people moving, and they were so much better than me. Like that was the bottom line.
Yeah, and more efficient.
The girl that I was paired with, I forgot her name, but I wish I could stay connected. She's like, we have to get this demi-glace on by noon.
You know how to cook. That's not the problem. The problem is getting your team to do what you want, when you want it. That's leadership. My book, Culinary Leadership Fundamentals, breaks down exactly how to run a kitchen without losing your mind. Stop yelling, start leading. Get the book at chefspsa.com.
So she's like, hey, suit up. We got to get ready. We have to have this demi-glace on by 12 p.m. And I'm like, okay, chef, like no problem. Minutes. She's like, so I need you to cut this mirepoix in 6 minutes. And I'm like, you know, anyway, I start hammering. And then, you know, it's funny because like, everybody's looking, it's a new guy in the kitchen, and I'm just doing the best I can. But, she's like, it's not fast enough, chef. You got to go faster. And I'm like, I'm going as fast as I can in my mind. And it's funny because she did the same task the next day, half the time.
Wow. Yeah.
She's like,
and you think you're a gangster.
yeah. She's like, no, stand there. You fucking watch me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, chef. And then I'm like, what's this girl gonna, you know what I mean? Dude, she's smoked it, bro. Like, I mean, she's like, it has to go on by this time. It has to cook for 6 hours.
Yeah.
She's like that, and it was so serious. And I was just like, dude, that's crazy, and then, and it was just funny because that was kind of the drive and the perseverance that like I needed at that time. And that tunnel vision, anything in the outside world could have been going on, and I would have never even known, because there was only two things that I was thinking about. One, survival, and two, my prep list and being set up on time. And that was it. Nothing else was important. Any family, anything family happening outside, couldn't make it. It didn't even matter. I was working 6 days a week to focus on this path. And it was absolutely crazy. And tunnel vision was like at the top of the chain. It was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. But I want to go back to the level of intensity. So number one, I get in there and I am 100% focused working with him, and I'm like his little bitch, and I'm used to running kitchens, right? At this point, I'm an executive chef. I'm overseeing 60 something staff. I got 5 sous chefs. I got 2 pastry chefs. Like, I am the one telling people what to do. He's like, hey, do this. Hey, do that. Ooh, do this. Yeah. And I'm like moving. I'm running. Okay. Running. Not only that, but finally after like day 3, day 4, I got to work the hotline. Okay. Chef Mike Bagel.
Yeah.
And Simon Davies, like, they're on the other side. I'm a commie cook, but on the hot side. Brandon's on the other side. And there's a little bit of salt that fell on the table. I wipe it onto the floor. Dude, Chef Mike looks at him. He's like, do we look like the type of restaurant that swipes stuff on the floor? And I'm like, no, chef. It's like, don't ever do that again. And I'm like,
facts. Yeah.
I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? And I remember that till this day, because every time I see somebody wipe something on the floor, that's a bad habit.
Yeah.
It's a bad habit. Then you're stepping in shit.
Tray or
Yep.
Yeah, a little tray.
Or in your hand.
in your hand. Yeah.
Well, even when we scrubbed the kitchen down 400 times a day, we had hotel pans and squeegees. And I'm like, I just cleaned the spot. And then Brandon's coming back and cleaning it right after me. And, that drove me crazy, because I'm like, it's not efficient.
There's a certain order for the scrub down, right?
Yeah.
Like
top to bottom.
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
You're scrubbing your table. You're squeegeing it into a hotel pan.
Yeah.
You're putting it down the drain. But just that experience itself just opened up my mind to, this is why we do this. Because if you wipe that salt on the floor, you're wiping everything on the floor, right? Doesn't matter what it is, and
you have to leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
But
and the same thing, I think, Brendan also made a good point one time. We were talking like about when you're working a station, nobody should know what you were working on, right? There shouldn't, like, if you're breaking down salmon, there shouldn't be salmon scales over here and over there. When you're working with equipment in the kitchen, like your RoboCoupe should go to the same spot where it's being stored. But at Alinea, they had tape where the scale was. This is where the scale stayed.
Don't move it.
Don't move it. You bring whatever you need to measure, come over to the scale.
Same thing with the Vitamix.
Vitamix, same
Vitamix
thing.
as well.
And I implemented that in my kitchens because I was like, you know what? It is smart and efficient,
Yeah.
and you're never looking for something.
You could learn a lot of really good practices in these ultra high-end kitchens on how to work efficiently, how to organize yourself,
1000%.
how to make sure time is of the essence, like
Yes.
you were talking about.
Yeah.
There's so much good that comes from from working in a lot of these kitchens, but sometimes there's also some bad. And I've noticed, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. Sometimes you hire people based on resume, and then they come in and it's like
They suck.
It's hard to adapt when it's easy to adapt when everything's perfect. It's very difficult to adapt when nothing's perfect.
Yeah. 100%. And I'll say this, and I mean, with the utmost respect, but if I see Thomas Keller on the resume, I'm not hiring. Not hiring. And here's
a hot take right there.
now here's the thing. Say what you want, but I've worked with, and I have so much respect for that group, and I have so much respect for Thomas Keller, and obviously working at Alinea with Grant Achatz, he's a protege of Thomas Keller, but these cooks come out here brainwashed. And I've worked with enough Bouchon cooks and enough French Laundry cooks, especially in California, where it's like, they can't change, they're brainwashed. They cannot adjust and stick and move, and like, it's frustrating. The only one that I will say, Damien Evers, shout out, he was at Bouchon for 10 years. But, he had this mentality, and I told him, I was like, because we got paired together when we were opening up Anglers. And I remember telling Paul, the culinary director, or his name is Jonathan, but I told Paul, I was like, usually I never hire French Laundry at all because of these, of the brainwashing, you know what I mean? And I don't care what anybody says, you can say what you want. And, I own my own restaurants now. So
They
like
look
for
at
me,
mashed potatoes, they only do it that way.
yeah.
right?
So like I was so sick of hearing, so when I was at Oriel, I also worked with the two sous chefs I worked with, they came from Bouchon, right? But they did things a certain way and that was it. And it's just like, they couldn't open their mind to how to do and that's the thing. And so for the young chefs and cooks out there, if you go to a restaurant to work, wherever you worked before is wonderful, but do not bring that up every single time you are in the kitchen. That
I
is
used to do it this way.
yeah. Well, when I was at French Laundry, we did it this way, and it's almost unbearable, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, and that's no disrespect. It just is what it is, right? And so, I just went through this recently. I had this. I have a lot of DMs of like cooks that want to come work, and and it's funny because I saw per se on the resume and like, oh, I want to get back to the mountains, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Nope.
Well, I will say another thing, throughout my career, when I see culinary schools on resumes, that doesn't matter. Like I look for experience and number one, do you pass the vibe check? I think a lot of this business is about who you know and the relationships that you create over the years that you work. Don't burn any bridges.
Yeah.
Leave things better than when you got them. Leave a job better than when you, got there. Just because you went to CIA doesn't mean
No,
anything doesn't.
Honestly, it ain't where you're from, it's where you at.
Yeah.
That's 100% true.
1,000%.
None of that matters when the shit hits the fan.
Right.
Yeah.
Another hot take is, I remember there was only one vision for me and that was 3 Michelin star. That was, that was 5-star, 5 diamond. That was like, it was the only thing I could think about. And so when I started at Oriel, 1 Michelin star, Vincent Poisel, one of the best chefs I've ever worked for, a French chef, he's from Paris. And I hate to say it, but he was in the French Connect and, Joel Robuchon and Letelier, and the techniques he taught me, I'll bring, wherever, like making a large amount of food, 400 covers, but still at that Michelin quality. And that really taught me production. Right. And so the thing is then, go like working in this style of cuisine. And I'll just say, and Charlie Palmer is the one who actually told me, listen, Alinea is great, but that's for like 1% of the world.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're going to find yourself, you pigeonhole yourself into this 3 Michelin star mindset. And he's like, so like if me as a restaurateur, if I was going to hire you for this hotel project, the Knickerbocker in New York City, where it's catering, it's brunch, it's
Banquets.
lunch, it's banquets. He's like, not only will you fail, but also you're only going to make a certain amount of money if you can't oversee more services. And I'm like, that's so true. I didn't really think about it like that. And so like, that's my only thing. I only knew dinner service, And so for me, it was really when I started working at the Wolfgang Puck group that I started to branch out. I worked Wolfgang Puck Fine Dining. So I came back from Alinea. I was going to go back to Charlie Palmer in Las Vegas. And then Wolfgang Puck's, Matt Hurley, the chef at Palazzo, he's like, are you coming back to Vegas? He's like, we got to get you to the group, And so I was offered a position I couldn't refuse. And
Spago.
Yep. And I was the executive sous at Spago at Caesar's Palace. And I started working with Eric Klein, which is another great mentor of mine. He's an awesome.
Love Eric.
But rightfully so, when I came out of Alinea, I was hot. Yeah. I was like,
Don't tell me what to do. I used to work at Alinea.
Guns blazing.
First day, I'm like, I got big capital letters. Don't slam the door here. Don't slam the ice. Put the ice scoop back. I'm like, and and what I realized, and Eric, I remember Eric he was just telling me, he was like, hey, listen, I know you came out of a 3 Michelin star restaurant. He's like, but also you have to understand, like Maria, the prep cook, is not going to be receptive to that type of leadership. And that changed my perception. Yeah. And I remember,
and I had to coach you out of a lot of those situations because
for the first 6 months, it was very difficult for me. You know why? Because I was working by myself. And we had 4 sous chefs and we lost all of them. It was just me and Eric.
And I would imagine that, and I'm not saying that maybe you had this there, but I would imagine like you probably got in trouble a lot. Like hey, can we talk?
Yes.
Yeah. Someone didn't like when you spoke to him.
Yeah. Because it was true. I would just blaze down. I'd be working the grill station. I'd be cursing and yelling and like, you suck, you suck. But like what people don't understand is not everybody has that same drive and passion and
mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Like willing to deal with as much as they're willing to
listen. Yeah, exactly. And like, listen, Maria's leaving at 3:30. She's gonna go pick up her kids, and she's gonna, and that's what she's gonna do. Like, good example. I had, I call it the Latino force on the line at Las Vegas, and they are so loyal. That's what I miss in Montana. Let me tell you. But
careful now.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, yo, hey, I don't want to say, but I was like, yo, if ICE is giving you trouble, come out to Montana, bro. They won't see you. Come out here, bro. You know what I mean? Like, yo,
delete that clip.
But it's funny because I'll never forget when I learned how to be a better leader, my life got better. and I took coaching classes. I did so much because I didn't really click for me at Oriel. Oriel was a union environment. And I remember Chef Vincent, because I couldn't wrap my head around. So I'm just going back to when I was working at Oriel as a sous chef. I couldn't wrap my head around in a union environment, how the cooks would just wrap up the food and then walk off the line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Without cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could.
Because it wasn't their job. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're like, Chef, it's union. You can't take the job away from the steward. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Clean up your shit. Like, you can't just leave the line. And then Vincent's like, hey, this is union. This is a union property. You have to understand that's not part of their job. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not my job? That was my work. Dude, fuming.
Yeah.
And so anyway.
Smoke out of the ears, everything.
So here we go. We're in HR the next day. Right off the bat.
So Brandon.
And Vincent was like, I remember Chef, he looked at me, we go in HR. He's like, don't say a word. Yeah. And I'm like, how am I not supposed to defend myself, Chef? Like, they don't know. You don't understand the standard we're trying to go for here. We're in the HR office. Let me tell you something. They're not there for you.
Right.
They will cut the manager so fast compared to the employee.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's funny because I start talking and all I feel is the grip of death from Chef Vincent. And he's like, shut up. Yeah. Because she was like, well, I want to talk about this situation and tell me, blah, blah, blah. And it was like a lawyer, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, well, I want to make sure the standard's high. It's not, and she's just like, oh yeah, tell me more, and
trying to get it out of you.
And so then we
doing this.
Yeah.
Please tell me.
Why do you feel that way?
And exactly. And so,
anything you say can and will.
So it was funny because I actually, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face, working in a union environment, managing in a union environment, it made me a better leader because, your hands are tied. You can't just do what you want. And it teaches you how to work with people. And I think that is a super important part of my career that kind of sucks when you work at this super high level because everybody is kind of like, you all want to push for greatness, but also that doesn't translate out to the real world, right?
Yeah. And if I could interject here, that moment, for people that don't understand this intense conversation in HR with you there, and you're just saying how you feel because you come from a world where the only important person is the chef,
right?
And the chef's vision. And now you're in a place where the chef is an important piece on the chessboard amongst a bunch of other important pieces.
100%.
And as soon as you stepped out, they said to the chef, they said, you stay back. You stepped out of the room and they said, that guy doesn't fucking get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you gonna, do we need to start
documentation? Yeah.
Right.
Paper trail.
Because at that moment, the chef is thinking, shut the fuck up. He's grabbing you by the arm.
Back of the neck.
He's thinking to himself, I don't want to have to fire you.
Exactly.
I need you. So keep
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll also mention this, if you are working in a hotel partnership between a chef and the hotel, okay, it is super important to be a bomb liaison between the partnership because a lot of people don't understand. And when I worked at Wolfgang Puck and at Hotel Bel Air, and I was the chef de cuisine, and I remember Wolfgang saying, hey, why do you have to go to all these meetings? And I'm like, chef, you don't.
You need to show face.
You have to, he's like, yeah, but it's stupid. You guys shouldn't be in the office. You should be cooking. And I'm like, chef, I hear you and I respect you and trust me and I'm with you. But but
we got to talk about the employee rally.
They want to know what's being served in the Swan Cafe at noon. And I'm just like, and it was so funny because I remember telling myself okay, this is important. And I'll stress, I can't stress enough, every experience, you can take something from every experience. And, depending on what type of chef you want to be in for the young cooks out there, what I recommend is figure out what type of chef you want to be as fast as possible. And this will change because there's a lot of people think they can just put a chef jacket on, hop on Instagram and post TikToks. And now all of a sudden they're a chef. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Nah.
Doesn't work like that.
Chef means something. Okay. Chef means leader of a kitchen. It's not it's a specific thing. It's like saying you're an electrician without having the proper documentation. You know what I mean? It's
and if I could go back to something that you said earlier, I'm going to defend Thomas. I'm going to defend Thomas Keller for a minute because I feel like I left him hanging out there and I didn't defend him because I've done exactly what he's done. I know why he does what he does.
Yeah.
Because when you want to work at that, and you know this, when you want to work at that 3 Michelin star level where it's Alinea, French Laundry, L2O, whatever.
Yep.
You need everyone to fucking operate in this system.
Yes.
You have to.
You do not deviate from our system.
Yeah.
1000%. And I will be on, let me go back to defend Thomas Keller too. That is my superhero.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I remember when the Under Pressure book came out.
Yep.
Okay. Under Pressure, sous vide. I read that thing cover to cover. I did everything, single recipe in there. I got sous vide tattooed on my arm.
Uh-huh.
Poly Science, shouted me
They
out.
use
They
them
used
for
they used
the
me in the
PowerPoints.
demo.
Yeah.
So I will say 100%. When that per se, the French Laundry Cookbook changed my life. In in early late
I think a lot
late
of chefs,
90s,
yeah.
late 90s. But I
That
will
was
say
the Culinary Bible.
I will say the biggest thing that I've learned as a restaurant operator in in managing restaurants and being a chef de cuisine, executive sous chef, demographic is everything, and so it's just super important. Like a good example, the techniques and some of the stuff that is taught at the Thomas Keller Group and at Bouchon, it doesn't translate over to
And that's the key.
to Hamilton, Montana, right? And also it doesn't translate to in San Francisco maybe, but there's certain places where you have a demographic that's a certain menu market fit where you have to cut costs. It doesn't need to be a perfect circle.
Well,
right?
and I want to talk about this with you because I know you have several restaurants that are very successful. And in running a successful restaurant is difficult. And so using the example of the French Laundry or Alinea or any of these really high-end 3 Michelin star kitchens, when you're a chef at one of these places or a cook at one of these places and you leave and you say, I want to basically replicate this because I loved it. And then you go into a different kitchen because they hire you because you have 3 Michelin stars on your resume and they make you the chef, but you only got 2 cooks, but you still want to do the food like if you had 20 cooks.
Yes.
And you still want to do the food like if you had a food cost at this.
Yeah.
Right. But then you realize, hey, the owner doesn't have that unlimited bank account.
Yep.
And you know what? Maybe we don't make it all from scratch.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. And so, I'll just double down just to give a quick summary. I moved out to Montana to start a restaurant group and I wanted to create what Thomas Keller created in Napa Valley back in the late 90s. And let me tell you something. It's not all success, right? We tried to launch 5 businesses at once. 3 of them failed. I'm, now divorced with my partners. We own the restaurants 100%. But the reality is my mind, and I got to give props to my brother here because I moved to Montana. I was, living in California, there's no other better place to live.
California produce is the best.
It's the best. But the reality is all the chefs use the same thing. We're all using Brent Wolf quails. We're all using abalone. We're all using California sturgeon, right? And working at Saison, I knew where all the good stuff was. So yes, I could have had the opportunity to open a restaurant in Palo Alto and I almost did. It was close. But I also know that all money is not good money. Tech money is very, they don't care about you. And the reality is I wanted to go to a place that was.
Why do you say that?
Well, tech investors, and this is not everybody, tech investors, private equity, restaurants are more of a business meeting. Say, I own this. It's not and that's why when I say all money is not good money, when you're talking to, let's say, the principal of the tech group or whatever it is, and they're like, yeah, hey, chef, whenever you want to open a restaurant, it's great, blah, blah, blah. But then you have to deal with his finance team.
Yeah.
Right. Who don't look, and you have to deal with their accounting. And it's well, how much money do you need? Okay, well, I need $2 million to open this restaurant. Well, he owns the space, so how much will you need for the kitchen renovation? And then they start picking apart, but none of them do restaurants.
Franchise you, sell it,
Then they're just looking, how fast can I get my money back? Which is arguably that's how tech works.
IRR, right?
Yeah. And it's but the thing is in California, especially in Silicon Valley and Bay Area, all the chefs that have tasting menus guaranteed, there's nobody's doing anything new. And so for me, not to say that the restaurants aren't good, but what I will say is I wanted to go to a place that was undiscovered. There was no chef representing. And when I went to Montana, it was it's sticks, bro, boonies.
out there.
But I came out too ambitious. Yeah. When we opened Ember, right?
Yeah.
And I sent him my menu. He analyzes menu all the time. He called me straight away. He's like, it's too ego driven. You're crazy. This is
He had pear and freaking goat cheese and frisee salad, all kinds of, what was it?
No. It was it was just too chefy.
Too California. It was too California for Montana.
Yeah. And it's funny because if you look at my menu now, and I don't care what anybody says. Because now that I own my own restaurants, I got middle fingers up to anybody that wants to give me advice about owning.
Here's something I say.
Yeah.
And I think you'll appreciate this. Everyone always says, run it like you own it. It makes a lot more sense when you own it.
Yes.
Right. When they say run it like you own it, as soon as you own it, you realize, that's what they meant.
Yeah. 100%. And it's as a chef, I never ever a good example, and I'll just use Grano. Grano is my Italian restaurant. Italian American is what I call it. It's not authentic. Okay, please. But
You got chicken Alfredo on the
Yeah, bro. Yes, yes.
Chicken
Yes, I
Alfredo
do.
pays the bills.
Listen.
Trying to tell him, man. I was like, look.
I'll be honest. Like, I remember I came out and like, it is so funny, man. I got this winter salad with radicchio and Treviso and like, the pizza's Neapolitan style. Like, so it's like, it's a 3-day firm, man. And I'm using, Caputo flour imported from Italy. That's the highest one. It's the Supernova, which is the best.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like in that demographic, you can't make the same pizza that you would make in Seattle, Washington or San Francisco that you would make in Hamilton, Montana. And for me, that was my non-negotiable, right? Like I was like, no, this is the pizza I love. I love Neapolitan style. I love wood-fired pizza. And I'm just going to educate opposed.
Did you give them scissors? Like you could only cut it with scissors?
We would cut it. We would cut it tableside because we cut it with scissors tableside when we first started. Now we cut it in the kitchen.
What the fuck is that?
They're like, what's going on?
Scissors bullshit.
Well, because in their mind, they know Pizza Hut, Domino's, and the breweries. And the thing is it's not their fault. They don't know what artisan pizza is. They might, but all the tourists do.
Yeah, they have no frame of reference,
and,
right?
And that's fine. And that's where, as a chef, you have to say, okay, where's the middle ground?
Yeah.
Where can I feel like a great chef, but also I need to make money or else we don't have a restaurant.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sad truth. Good example, truffle fries, right? Listen,
I hate truffle oil.
I don't
Love
care.
selling truffle fries.
Listen, I don't care what anybody says.
he
When
puts
I'm
on the
looking
menu, I
at
was
this menu mix, and I have a great truffle fry recipe. I actually make a truffle vinaigrette, hit them up. I get the extra crispy French fries that are battered, but like, it's funny because it costs me zero labor.
Yeah.
It's
crack for the plebs.
Listen, it's
I wouldn't even make a truffle vinaigrette. I'm putting truffle oil all over it.
Straight up.
And this is going to be funny for you because you guys are chefs, but I have 3 potato sides on my menu at Ember right now.
Yeah,
3 sides of
What are
potatoes. I have the 24-hour potato, which is one of our signature dishes, right? It's a great dish. I've learned how to speed up the prep so it's not so labor intensive, but it's one of our signatures. Then I have mashed potatoes, and I also have truffle fries, and they all equally sell. And listen,
It's Montana.
I feel terrible because sometimes I'm like, but this is what sound like. I don't waste any more time with dogs on the menu, because it's not worth it. It's not worth holding on to the inventory. It's not worth it.
Let me ask you both this question, just for the audience listening. You said something. I was like, sometimes we're too inside baseball on the show, and because we have a range of entry-level cooks and owners listening. For the person who's never heard the expression dogs on the menu.
Oh yeah.
Can you break that down? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
Like when we're talking menu engineering.
Yeah.
Can you break down what a dog on the menu means?
Can I
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Lee, man, he's
I'm hyped
bro.
up,
Yeah,
dude. I'm like,
you had that Celsius, so like my job as a chef is not just drive really good dishes on the menu, but look at the menu mix and we categorize them. What sells really good and has a high profitability is what you want at least 50% of your menu. That roasted chicken dish, okay, costs you $4 to put on the plate, but you're selling it for $26, $27. It's garnished up nicely. Then you want to have some of your loss leaders, right? Like that are, people come for it, whether it's like we do this honey roll dish. It's a mashup between a Hawaiian style roll with a Parker House roll. And we do it at our steakhouse concepts. We sell it for $8. We could easily get 15 for it, right? But it's the reason why people come to the restaurant, right? Then you have the dogs on your menu that don't serve a purpose, high cost, lots of prep. For example, we put tater tots on the menu. I wanted to do them fancy. It's a steakhouse, so we do tater tot, creme fraiche, caviar. They are a bitch to prep, okay? Each one is hand molded after you roast a potato, you shred it down, you cook duck fat with shallots, you make your mix, and then each one is hand formed into a ring mold, okay? And then each one is breaded just on each side, so it literally takes 6 hours to prep a full batch.
Oh, jeez.
Craziness, right?
Yeah.
People look at it, they're like, I'm paying $18 for tater tots. It's a dog, okay? It's not doing anything on your menu. Actually, it's pissing people off, right? And that's what
it's
a low seller.
It's ruining the cook that has to fucking work on it for 6 hours and saying, damn it,
we could
why am I making these?
Right.
You don't even sell them. I'm throwing them away again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, it's I always say like it's a fried calamari effect, right?
Yeah.
I went through my career. I was like, I'm never putting fried calamari on the menu because I worked at Carrabba's for a day, as like a stage because they were paying a lot of money. This is one of our first jobs was at like Macaroni Grill, and I went to Carrabba's because they were paying $4 more per hour. And I know why, because nobody wanted to work the damn calamari station. They had a calamari fryer. I fried calamaris for 8 hours straight. I hated it, hated it. And so I said to myself, like, I'm never putting calamari on the menu, right? But again, this is a low cost, high profit item, you know, and that's what makes or breaks a business.
I mean, mussels is a perfect example.
Mussels,
Yeah.
another great example.
Cheap.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in the Hamptons in New York, 2014, we would buy 50 pounds, you know, we would go through, you know, I'm sorry, not 50, 250 to 500 pounds of mussels every weekend. And I mean, I never wanted to eat mussels. You know, I hate them because I've seen them so much. Same thing with oysters, you know, but it's one of those things that people love and they'll pay whatever. They don't care how much they're paying for an oyster, you know, because they know that they can't go to the grocery store and get the same quality.
100%. Yeah. And I think, and this is where, and I'll go back to culinary school, and I just want to talk about this because what they're teaching in culinary schools nowadays is not relevant to running a restaurant or being in a restaurant now. Like so many things have changed after COVID, like not only the cost of goods, but the way the AI is taking over the restaurant industry. If you're not using AI in your restaurant right now, you're behind the times.
Yeah.
Give me an example, because I haven't been in a restaurant in a while.
Yeah. So here's a great example. Answering the phones.
Yeah.
We
Nobody has time to answer phones anymore. Remember, you would have a hostess scheduled there
because labor was lower. But unless you're in a hotel, we don't have a hostess, right? Like I'm not scheduling a hostess.
Yeah, not till 30 minutes before we open.
Oh,
Right?
100%.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're cutting them early too.
So now all these restaurants are they're defaulting to Slang AI or whatever the AI voice, and it's pretty close to human. It's so close. Also with accounting, AI with accounting, right? I have a system that tells me what's fluctuating in price, and the AI will source.
Can you tell us what system it is?
And
they're not paying us, but they should.
Yeah, the system that I used to use was Plate IQ, and they merged with another company, and I forgot what it was, but it's like on the back end, what they do is they'll give you a graph of like what prices have fluctuated, but then this is the thing, they source it on the web of what it should be to make sure that your purveyor is not.
You're keeping them honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and here's the thing with web restaurant. Like, I hate to say it, but it's becoming Amazon.
Yeah.
It's
For the restaurant world, absolutely.
It's becoming a conglomerate, and I love it because, the thing is,
convenience.
The thing, and then also I'll say ChatGPT. I freaking love ChatGPT, and I go deep. No, not yet, but I also want to try Perplexity as well. But like the thing is like now when I do catering, I can dial in recipes by using baker percentage, and I used and it's like good example. I had a party with barbecued pork and brisket, and I'm like, okay, I want to account for this, and I'm talking to chat, and it's giving me scaled recipes from my recipe book, right? Because it's really hard to take barbecue sauce and then account for 4 ounces per portion, you know what I mean, and then do the ordering.
You could do the math, but it's not always.
But it's a lot easier. You waste a lot less time in the kitchen on the computer.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I did for people listening. Is for people that have been listening to the show, they know I love AI.
Yeah,
I've been talking about AI since day one.
Yeah.
I think I wrote literally the first AI cookbook ever.
Nice.
Because as soon as it came out, I wrote it like 3 days later.
Nice.
So, when ChatGPT came out in November 2022 or whatever. Yeah. But so I started using Claude the other day because all over social media, like Claude. What is this? So I got on Claude, and I've had it for about a week, and I pay for the pro version. Yeah. And while I'm here, Claude is working on my computer, updating SEO for my website on every podcast.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm just here. And I just said, do this.
Yeah.
And I said, can you give me access to the backend? Sure. So I connected it, and then it says, do you like it in this style? Yep.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a few hours, and I'll have.
Now it's doing it.
And it's just working on my website.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It speeds up workflow like crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Taking those mundane tasks off your plate so you can focus on other things. And I'll tell you, I got one up on both of y'all. ChatGPT calls me chef. Okay. That's how much I use it. Because like, for example, in kitchens, my recipes don't have instructions. If you don't know how to make a vinaigrette properly, you shouldn't be working in the kitchen. But guess what? Just like you were talking about Thomas Keller's, if you don't have a system and you don't break down, I've learned the hard way by not breaking down steps to recipes to the T. This is exactly the measurement. I only use grams because you can.
Do you do percentages too?
A percent, absolutely. Especially with, baking and pastry.
Baking and
You have
pastry.
to use percentages.
Yep.
Sauces, vinaigrettes, percentages are the way to go.
Listen, ratios will set you free. Was it Alex Dupet?
Yeah, Alex Dupet.
I love it. He's
Ratios,
right.
yeah.
And listen, Alex Dupet, he's one of my
1000%.
superheroes too, because he doesn't know this, but I wanted to, and I can't find it, but I found one of his recipe books at Alinea on the pastry station in the bottom underneath where the spoon bane is. And I can't find it anywhere, and I'm so frustrated because, like, dude, I was reading, I was like, in all these
Jack that shit?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah, it's mine. Yeah. But it was like, and it was all
Alex, you
worn
hear that?
down, but it said Alex Stupek on the front, and so that's when I learned about Alex Stupek. Like, and I just went down. I mean, he is such a like. If people don't know, Alex Stupek was I would say one of the OGs, along with Jordan Kahn at Alinea as pastry chef, right? And I think he changed the game as far I think everybody
hydrocolloids.
Yeah, and the flexible chocolate. I took that recipe. I got the OG recipe, but I've used that many of times. Yeah. And I just have to say, mad respect to.
And he's funny as shit.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
Yeah, he's funny as shit. For people that don't know, right now both of you are on Top Chef.
Yeah,
competing against each other. And by the way, I obviously we're not going to spoil it for anybody, but I'll tell you what I would do if I was running Top Chef. And Top Chef, if you're listening, call me. I'll tell you exactly. I know what the people want.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is the finale. If I'm running Top Chef, I'm setting it up so you guys are battling right at the finale. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that's what I'm doing.
We can all speculate, right?
We can speculate.
Yeah.
That's
for sure.
I'm going to write it. And if that's not the case, you rest assured they will be hearing from me.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's awesome. No, and listen, my only competitor that I was worried about, that I am worried about, is Brandon,
because he knows me in and out, and I know him in and out.
He knows me there's no other person that knows each other better than us.
How do you get in his head during well, I guess you can't talk about that, right?
Well, the thing is we can talk a little bit about it. We are both competitive in different ways, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I know that if we had a pastry challenge, he's fucking me up, man.
Yeah.
There is nothing, because I went for my bachelor's, he went for a pastry and a double associates.
Yeah.
And I blasted him for years. I'm like, dude, you're never gonna need that. Every time I needed help on a pastry recipe, I'd call him.
Yeah.
Hey man, can you just review this?
Especially when I learned sourdough. Once I learned sourdough, it was game. I went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, there was if we have a sourdough competition or bread baking or any pastry related,
cooked.
I'm cooked. Yeah. I'm like, there's only one way to fight to the death, because at the end of the day, man, everything you see is real on Top Chef. Mm-hmm. It's not scripted. They don't tell you anything on purpose. It's real live emotions.
Yeah.
And you are put into pressure situations that, it's sink or swim. It's raw talent.
Yeah.
Top Chef's been around for quite some time. And I feel like
we're on season 23.
There's still kind of the gold standard culinary competition.
Yeah.
For now.
For now. There's gonna actually. Hey, I saw. Listen, I was
Shots
watching.
fired.
Shots fired. It's funny. I don't watch cooking shows, and the reason why, everybody asks me, oh, did you see The Bear? Oh, did you see this? Chef. Did you see the Tournament of the Champ? I'm like, I don't watch these because it's too stressful for me.
Yeah.
I deal with it all day. I'm putting out fires all day, and so, going into competing against my brother, there was I knew. So basically, you can memorize recipes, but you can't write anything down, which is to even the playing field out.
Yeah.
Which is fair. The only recipe I memorize, pastry recipes. That's it.
Yeah,
just
you don't
in case,
right?
Yeah.
I can cook because when I R&D recipes, I'm R&Ding and I'm going through the process and I'm writing things down. I'm never like, let me go to marthastewart.com and get this velouté recipe and then follow this recipe and make tweaks to it.
Right.
I'm freestyle. I'm like, how does this feel? How does this taste? How does this look? And then so I'm very good in that environment. And also I've been on Chopped, I've been on Beat Bobby Flay. So I know that kind of thing.
He likes the TV. See, I was the opposite.
Yeah.
He never wanted to be on TV, and I my first debut was when I was 22 years old. I was on Gary Across the Caribbean, which is Gary Rose is a celebrity chef in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first exposure to national TV in the UK. Mm-hmm. And the big production and all that sort of stuff. And we're on a Caribbean island. They flew me out.
Dude, he begged me to come on Beat Bobby Flay. I'm like, dude, I'm just not interested, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to make a club sandwich. But it's funny because now that I own my own businesses, I have my own brand. It's different.
Exposure.
Right.
Exposure is everything. I don't care what anybody says, and I do blame myself, but Brandon tried to get me on the social trend for so long, and I thought it was so dumb. I was like, I ain't got time. I'm a real chef. I have a real job. I don't have time to post a cooking video about how to make a mango sorbet. I got to teach my staff how to do these things. Yeah. But now, that I see,
I bullied him. I bullied him into it.
And not only that, but because everybody thinks that I'm him, they're oh, I watched the Beat Bobby Flay episode. They'll blow up his comment section. I just saw you on Food Network, yada, yada. Yeah. But seeing people know him more than they know me.
Yeah.
When like even
And you were the one that was doing all the TV.
exactly,
Yeah, right.
but
Yeah.
they see him on TikTok, they see him on Instagram.
Yeah.
They ask me, "Hey, aren't you the like I'm random food hall in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
and this I'm ordering a taco from this food truck, and this guy's staring at me, and I'm like, "Are you good, bro? You okay?" He's like, "Do you own Ember? Do you live in Montana?" And I'm like, "No, actually, that's my twin brother,
Yeah.
And FaceTime Brian, like, "Yeah, look, we're twins, and it's just this cool interaction." But
Yeah.
this is a young kid who's like probably his first or second job.
Yeah.
Well, it
felt so
and
inspired.
I'll say this: it's super important if you're a chef out there, if you're a young cook, start creating content.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
And you probably have enough in your phone already.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Do something.
Just do something.
And the thing is now it start like good example. I'm going to use Ryder for example. Ryder, when we first opened Ember, I knew I wanted a videographer and I wanted editing, and we would document the process. And I'm like, social media is so important. You know how hard it is to put that in the pro forma. Pro forma is like a business plan for people that don't know, but like
we're in the budget. Yeah, but
it's like I had to sacrifice an hourly and a sous chef for that body, right? But it was so important because we grew in the first 6 months, we grew Ember to over 200,000 followers on Instagram, and we were pumping via social media. And like the reality is it's so important nowadays. And now it's super important that you have that, because what I realized in 2020 when I started, when COVID hit, I had zero. I had nothing.
No social presence.
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, okay, so like if the whole world were to shut down, I don't have anything. I have nothing. And so that's when Chef Authorized was born, right? And I was doing duets, and I was like, just on TikTok, and like, the biggest thing for me was like, I almost gave up. I was like, this is stupid. I can't believe it. Like, what am I doing?
well, and also I was dogging him on the side. I'm like,
Yeah,
bro,
what
that
are you
ain't
doing?
nobody
Yeah.
paying attention to your 30 view video.
Yeah.
Like all the time it takes you to do that and set it up.
And then
How do you handle the trolls? That's a good question.
yeah. So, that's a great question. And honestly, now you get to a certain point where you have a threshold, and it's like, listen, I don't know this guy. They don't know me, but like, thank you for the comment, because it adds to the algorithm. But also like, before I used to take the comments really personally, but now it's like, it's dirt over the show. You ain't paying my bills, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like you have zero input in my life. But I will say that it's super important. You need if you don't have any haters, you ain't working hard enough.
You won't get the exposure, or the virality. But it's funny because I actually I had a video that surpassed 1 million.
Yeah.
And I had never, because I told him, I was like, hey, I got 50,000 views. I went viral. He's like, bro, you ain't go viral unless you get at least 500,000. And I'm like, so that was, I strive for that. But finally I broke it, and it was a tomahawk, well done. But it's all about how, the voiceover, and it's all about the hook. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, I never thought in my career that I would cook a tomahawk well done. Yeah. It's a 40-ounce piece of meat. Early in my career, I would have said no. Order the chicken, order the salmon.
Yeah.
But I'm not cooking for my ego. I'm cooking for the guests.
What I want to say, let me circle back, because for the young cook and the young like chef, like before, when I was working in the kitchen, cell phones were not accepted. You cannot, and you still have to be discreet. Like you have to ask permission, because there's a certain time and place. But I will say, shout out to Ryder Mansky. He started with me, but a lot of people don't know this, but like Ryder started with me back in the day. Like
what's his Instagram handle?
It's I forgot, but it should be Mansky. I think it's R Mansky or something like that.
But he does a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is when he first started with me, I posted on TikTok and I said, hey, I'm looking for some cooks. He started with me when we had the burger restaurants. So he had been working with me for 2.5 years before he started posting on IG, but I forced him to do it. Right. I'm like, listen, the videographer's here. Like, you want to be on social media, you need to start posting. And I'm like, if you would have been posting 2 years ago, you'd be viral right now. But now it's like, so he's just started posting. We started putting him on the Ember page, and like he has his own social media presence now. And I think that's so important for the young cooks and the young chefs. Like, you can't just put all your eggs in one basket. Like, you have got to create a personal brand for yourself. If that's what if social media is what you want to do, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years in building a community.
In today's world, it's all brand.
Yeah.
It's all brand. And I know that as Chef's PSA, like there's a reason it's called Chef's PSA and not Andre's podcast.
100%. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. And I will say this, and I don't, if you have a social media presence as a chef and you go to a new restaurant and you can drive revenue and put butts in seats, it will change the ownership perspective, right? Yeah. And so I think like Ember would not be what it is right now if I didn't have a social media presence. Like, people come in, they look at it like a TV set, right?
Right.
I'm like, hey, this is where we film, blah, blah, blah. But it's funny because I'm a little bit more animated when I'm posting on social, because you have to be, right? Like you have to, like, I put on a character, right? It's like, okay, hey, look at it, and it's just,
That's what's going to get them to stop.
Yeah.
Stop the scroll.
And, it's It's funny because a lot of people don't know this, but this is insider information. When we built the kitchen at Ember, I had the lights set up like studio lights. That's why it's super bright. I could be filming in there at 12 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. It's always the same set. And I think the biggest thing for me when I was learning about videography and editing and all that, like I thought, like when I was in California, I thought, okay, so the sun's not up, so I'm not going to film today. Like, dude, that was so stupid. But if you don't feel comfortable with editing videos, if you don't feel comfortable with shooting videos, get it on a line item on the P&L. Trust me, it's important. Put it on the P&L.
Yeah, I would say that I would argue that social is used more as a search engine these days than it was before.
Yeah.
So, and this is another hot take that I wouldn't say, like, as a chef, seeing these the viral content of some of these dishes drives me fucking crazy. Because I'm like, I bet you that tastes like dog shit. For example, oh, this is how you cook a steak. Like, and I see these home cooks. Like, listen, nothing against home cooks.
Yeah.
Do your thing. But you're cooking, pretending that you're a chef.
Yeah.
Dude, it irks. You're talking about haters. Like, I want to be haters up in their comments because I'm like, you didn't season that steak. You didn't season, like, how many people cook
Yeah, but
steak?
let's be honest. I'm not wearing a chef coat in my kitchen at my house.
No. Who's your favorite creator?
My favorite creator?
Yeah, who do you like to watch?
I love straight up Joshua Wiseman is one of my favorite. He's cool people, man. And like, honestly, his cookbook is legit. Another favorite creator, I love Max the Meat Guy. I love Guga. They're all my friends. Matt Groark, Groark Barbecue.
Jersey, yeah.
I love all the barbecue guys. So Kendrick, 406, TFTI, we kind of like, I don't want to say we grew up
Is there one that you like, maybe is an acquired taste that you're like, I really like this one? A lot of people might, but I really like this one.
My good friend, Albert King Cook.
Yeah.
And he's smart. Like we started together. We have a collab that we did back in like 2022 or 2021, but he just blew up. Yeah. But like he does skits now, but like the food that he was doing, like, and he was right. He's like, I'm doing food for the gram. I'm not doing like, you're wasting time doing Michelin level stuff. Right. And he was right. He was 100% right. And like, and I'm going to say this too.
And his video editing was fantastic.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this too. Like I got a video on quenelling or rocher, whatever you want to call it. But I know it's not going to do well, but it hits that chef community.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I want, that base. I don't charge my people anything. You know what I mean? Like I just want to build the community. Like it's super important for me to do things like that, like chefy videos, because I think it's okay to post on social media. And I think as a chef, you got to put your feelings aside, your ego aside, and just start posting, documenting the process. And I will say the stupid food does better than the Michelin food.
1000%. Here's something, and I'm going to put a pin in that because I want to hear what you have to say, because I also want to ask you, you're a creator, but I'm going to share this with you because I think the audience would appreciate it. I have a friend that books guest chef dinners. That's their job. They book guest chef dinners. From Michelin to James Beard to award-winning chefs, chefs on TV, and also books content creators as well, cookbook authors who are millions of followers on social media.
Yeah.
The award-winning chef, a lot of times they have to give away tickets because they can't fill a room. The content creator sells out in minutes.
Yes. See? 100%. And it doesn't even matter at that point what the menu is, right?
And it's not like they're doing like Crazy Burger or whatever.
Yeah. And look, and here's a great example of that, like Salt Hank, right? He was a content creator out of the Bay Area. I knew him a long time ago, and he was opening a restaurant. I'm like, hey, if you need any help with anything, you just let me know. But I will say this, he fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
His restaurant is packed. Okay.
Yeah.
Line out the door. He serves one item, and he has a chef in there. But I'm going to tell you right now, like, this is all the chefs that have put in all this work.
Yeah.
This is what you're up against.
Well, one of my favorite creators right now, and I'm curious to know yours, and I wish I knew her name, but she's just fucking trolling everyone. Like, today I'm going to show you how to fucking make something, and I'm going to eat it out of my shoe. Have you ever seen her? Oh, she's great. And so, like, today I'm making a tiramisu, and I'm serving it out of a fucking claw machine.
Yeah, dude. But this is, you have to be entertaining, and I learned the hard way. And like, there's like, and you're 100% right. That guy's 100% right. You can have a creator come and, they have millions of followers or whatever. And like, they'll book a dinner.
Selling out.
They'll sell out. And also these cookbooks, like they can put up a cookbook just like that. And guess what? Like
and
you could have,
buying it. Yeah.
You could have a decorated resume. Good example is with the brand deals, like with the brand deals, I'm going to be honest, like there's another chef out there. We both have Dawn partnerships, but they're too chefy.
Here's my message to chefs that are listening right now. If you want those content creators to stop fucking taking your lunch money, put out content.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up and put out content.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if not, they're going to keep taking your lunch money.
Yeah, 100%.
He told me that from the beginning. He's like, just shut up and post. Just shut up and post. And that's kind of like, I'll spend a whole day filming a recipe. I mean, like a crab cake, right? But the crab cake has a remoulade. It has a slaw. You know, you're making the crab cake from scratch. You're making the aioli from scratch. Okay, 14 sub recipes, right? 100 views. Nobody cares. I post a video on how to demo a pineapple. Okay, 50K. Right? How to julienne a pepper. 30, 40K. You know, it's because your content. It's all about who's consuming the content and the target.
Again, using inside baseball terms, sometimes low IQ does better than high IQ.
100%. Yeah. Same.
100%. Yeah. Is there a creator that you'd like to watch?
I don't know. You know, to be honest, there's nobody that pops right off my mind.
Is there one that you're sharing often? Like, oh, this is funny. Or
what do I share
really
with you? I only share ones that I think are good with you.
Yeah, I don't get trapped in the consuming content.
Yeah,
I look at the
I'm
trends, but also like I will say there are some creators out there that are this is their full-time job. And they are way ahead of the game. Right? Like if anybody want to do a chef podcast right now, they're gonna have to
Fucking
put in
luck.
so much work. You know, and
Well,
I
this
think
is
that's so
episode like
important.
195. Like,
Yeah,
good
yeah,
luck.
yeah.
I do for cooking. I do like Sad Poppy. He just changed his name.
Oh, Sad Poppy,
Yeah,
yes.
I do like his cooking because his
Yeah.
and Matt, the line cook. What's his name? Line cook Matt. Matt, just the line cook or something like that.
I don't know. Yeah.
But
Shout out to Matt.
shout out to Matt. Yeah.
So this is important. When you do have a social media handle, make
sure
sure
something that
it is
people
something
can
that
remember.
people remember, and it's same across all platforms.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is why it's Chef's PSA.
Yeah.
Fucking easy to remember.
Yeah.
Public service announcement.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's trademark, by the way, if anyone's thinking of stealing. But, okay, so before we wrap up,
What did you put a pin in earlier? I forgot.
that about who your favorite content
got
creator
it.
was.
Yeah.
I normally do wrap up questions, but I'm going to ask you both the same question, and I want to see differing opinions.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you have I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
If you have a salt in the kitchen, your go-to all-purpose workhorse salt, what is it? in your
Kosher.
kitchen?
Kosher. Red Diamond.
Red Diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Red
Diamond
Diamond.
Crystal, yeah?
We Diamond Crystal. We use Morton's on Top Chef, and it was just like very like I've never like it's just not for
You have
me.
to learn how to
It's
reseason.
a killer.
It's just too salt. Like there's nuances to different levels.
It
of salt.
dissolves.
Yeah.
It takes longer to dissolve. So you'll be making something. You'll taste it. It's fine. And then
It's just like with recipes. Like the tomato this week is not going to be the same as next week. The lettuce this week is going to be different. Like there's so many, like carrots, for example. I got a carrot dish on the menu right now. They are super sweet, but it's because the field was iced over, right? It's like, and that's what chefs, the recipe, this is a Thomas Keller thing. The recipe is just a guideline. You as the cook put the soul in the recipe.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's so important. And I think that's what separates Ember food from everywhere else in the Bitterroot Valley. Not to subtle shout out, but
that was a gentle flex.
yeah, but and that's what I try to tell people. Like this asparagus that we're getting in the spring is only available for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's it. This is a time and place right now.
Yeah.
And it's just super important when, same thing with salt, like in recipes, if it's a different brand of salt, restructure the recipe. Trust me.
Or taste it.
Right.
I had to cook you sea salt, the fine sea salt in place of kosher salt, and it would just crush this recipe.
No, it's a kitchen killer.
What's your plate white?
Oh, easy. So I like linen likes, and I roll them up, and then I use a little bit of vinegar and also water. I learned that from Alinea, and it was great. And these plate wipes got to be rolled tight, and I only need 4. And
For the whole night?
for the whole night, yeah.
Damn,
Well, we put up clean plates, chef. So
What's your plate white?
I say I use sports towels.
Yeah.
And again, I don't like the roll.
Uh-huh.
I actually we cut them into about 2 by 2 inch squares.
Yeah, so like chick towels or
Chick
pork
towels.
or
Yeah.
something.
Yep. And then we're using 1 per plate. And we're tossing out.
What do you use? Vinegar, vodka?
Just water.
Just water. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
vinegar.
But it can't be too wet. It has to be just the right amount of water. Like you can't.
Well, that's why I like the linen like, because you roll it up and then you squeeze it one time like this and then put it in a yukumi pan so it fits perfectly.
We used to use vodka, and I remember once I caught the cooks chewing on, like they were chewing on. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Damn, that's desperation right
Yeah.
there.
What's your of course there's going to be nuance, and of course there's going to be exceptions to the rule, but in general, what's your finishing acid go-to?
Finishing acid go-to lime. I feel lemon is great as well, but that was another thing that my style of cooking is citrus, spices, not so heavy. I like interesting flavors, but I'm always finishing it with a little acidity, and it's either a squeeze of lime or a lime zest is my go-to. And also I oversee a bunch of Mexican restaurants, so you know it's a different level. You know, it's a different
Limon.
You know, limon verde, man. You know, it's just
What about you? What's your finishing acid?
So I'm a big fan of having both. I'll have I really love vinegars, and I like homemade vinegars as well. But the thing is for me, especially at Ember right now, because I'm kind of like on the other side of the Expo Pass, I'll bring everything like seasoned to perfection. But I think what a lot of people need on the Expo Station, which they don't have, is like a squirt bottle of water. Like, because, you know, in my steam well and like this trick, and some people might disagree because it's plastic, but in the steam well, I keep the sauce in a deli cup, but sometimes it reduces. We try to hold it at 135, but people need to understand that sauces change every single day.
Yep.
You know, and you like
when they sit in.
Good example. I just taught my new cook, Lucky, shout out Lucky. He, you know, I was like, look, the beurre blanc's not going to be the same today. Is that, can I make a public service announcement?
Go for it.
Why the hell was I throwing out beurre blanc every day? It's not necessary. Man, with the cost of butter now in this economy,
economy, bro.
we don't need to make fresh beurre blanc every day. I'll die on that hill.
No.
Yeah.
But do you make the base and then whip butter into it every day, or do you make the full sauce and
No,
then just
I
reconstitute
use,
it?
okay, shout
cream?
out. Some people might hate this, but I make a stable base, right? With xanthan.
With xanthan, yeah.
With xanthan, and then I season that base for what I need in a deli cup.
Yeah.
So I make my batch for the week, and then when I'm reheating it,
Damn, I didn't know that.
when I reheat it, I let it split, I buzz it, and then I'm hitting it with salt, a little bit of lemon, and then I hit the fish with lemon before it goes out. But you know, the reality is sauces are sexy, and you know, like our bacon jam, for example, that bitch ain't going nowhere. It's the same flavor every single time. But when you have butter-based sauces or you know, wine-based sauces, or good example, red wine demi-glace, whatever it is, like it's not going to be as vibrant as it was day one. The second day, it's different than the first day.
So you have just a little squeeze bottle of water on your station?
Well, so sometimes if the water, like if like the sauce is, you know, it reduces too much, it gets too thick.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little hot water, just to make it so it's nice and nappe and not like a clunk on the plate, right? Good example, bacon jam is a perfect example of that. When bacon jam is like where you could quenelle it, it's hard for the guests to really wrap their head around on the pork dish that we have. So I like to thin it out just a little bit, but you don't want to add those ingredients because it's already concentrated. So a little squirt of water makes a huge difference.
Damn, bro, Montana really changed you. You don't use fresh beurre blanc every day?
No, hell no. No, you know
I never thought I would hear those
why?
words come out of his mouth.
Hey, I pay for the motherfucking groceries.
Ain't
Ain't nothing wrong with that beurre blanc, dude. Yeah, that butter,
Dude,
like
going from you know, chef to operator.
It's a different world, man.
You looking at every penny, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, he told me he's like, during the season, we turn off all the fridges. We only have one fridge. We're consolidated. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, damn, bro, you bootstrapping it, you know?
Listen,
it's your money.
Let me tell you something. Every dollar counts. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah,
If you're managing a restaurant for somebody else, you know, listen, like there's some health standards that need to be followed, but like, you know, good example, I have 3 fridges in Ember. I got 2 of them shut down right now. We're using 1. Yeah. You know, I'm looking at the electricity bill. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, do we really need 7 Slim Jim trash cans in the kitchen? No, I just need 2, right?
And when do you throw away the trash? When it's full.
Yeah, well,
Right.
dude.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I'm telling
That's
you,
a big
like,
one. That's a big one.
And like, you know, and I hate to say it, but supplies are so out of control, crazy
After
expensive.
COVID, like gloves, trash bags.
For me, it's the chemicals, right? So like the chemicals are just what's killing. I'm like, damn, do I really need because I use Ecolab, which is I shouldn't shout them out, but it's just expensive.
He got rid of his dishwasher, everything, man. He's like,
If
no, the
it's-
cooks are washing.
but
dishes.
listen,
I use Dawn.
straight Dawn.
I use Dawn's great, the manual pot and pan. But like, I can't tell you enough. Like, all of that matters, man. When you see that P&L statement, or like, you know, you do your mid-month check, like chefs, you don't need to see the end of the month P&L to know your numbers. You place the order, okay? You can see your total sales.
Budget.
You can look at your prime costs. You can do it. Don't make excuses. Learn how to manage the fucking business.
Right.
Because
On a daily
nothing
basis.
else matters except for profit.
You live and die daily.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what type of chicken steak you can make. Profit is the only thing that matters, man. I don't care what anybody says, or else you don't have a restaurant. And if you are not, putting money in that owner's pocket, guess what? He or she is gonna look at every single line item, and they're gonna start dissecting your operation.
They're
And
going
it's
to find it.
100%. They will find that money. So it's just super important.
Yeah.
I grew up as a chef, like, oh, the food is the most important. This is the most important, blah, blah, blah. No, you know what is? Occupancy.
But to the chef, it is.
Yes.
To the chef,
And
it is the
true.
most important when you're in that position.
Yeah.
But when you're in the next position,
Yeah, it's
a different
You're
thing.
looking at efficiency.
Yeah,
you're
bro.
looking at all that forecast.
Second to last question. If you had to put 4 chefs on Mount Rushmore, Who's your 4 chefs? And then I'll ask you.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. This is a good one. So
I got it.
I tend to lean more towards the celebrity chef. So Emeril Lagasse was who got me into cooking. Brandon was like, hey, watch this show. And I watched Emeril Lagasse religiously because not only was he fun, he made cooking fun, but also he was like a little bit of an entertainer. That was I'd have to say that's my first one. Second one would have to be, oh, this is tough, man. This is tough. I would have to say Bobby Flay, and I know I'm gonna get hate for this. I know. The thing is that I know, but again, I grew up where I looked towards celebrity chefs, and that's why I wanted to do TV, because I wanted to do that, you know, but I also wanted to cook really good. And then of course your Michelin star. So I would say Grant Achatz, you know, and also Thomas Keller, you know, and they shouldn't be on the same. But if I had to choose, Thomas Keller would be first. And then Grant took what he learned from Thomas Keller and completely blew up the culinary game.
So Emeril, Grant, Thomas, Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's a little bit different, but I'm going to go 4-1.
Yeah.
Joshua Skeens. He's one of my favorite chefs in the United States. I really wish we could have worked longer, but you know, small little story, and I won't go too long, but I knew he has the palate of a fucking magician. And we were doing these tastings for him, and he tasted the sauce, right? And he's like, the garlic is sprouted in the sauce. And I'm like, what are you talking about, chef? And I'm like, he's like, it's, go check the garlic. I think it's sprouted. And I mean, there's no chance on this God's green earth that anybody would know. Like he wasn't there for the mise en place. I'm like, Damien, go check, go grab
super
it.
taster.
He's like, chef, it's just like a little sprouted. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
How do you? And so that blew my mind. Well, anyway, the conversations that we had, I think we still have unfinished business. That's number 4 for sure. Grant Achatz, number 3 for sure. You know, he was just like, I read the Alinea book, and I followed him for a long time. Great chef, awesome story, all the above. Ferran Adria is going to be number 2 for me because, you know, I went down this molecular tear where everything was foam and this and that. And like, you asked me, listen, you asked me anything about hydros and I got you, bro.
You know,
like,
I got to switch Bobby for Jose Andreas.
Yeah. Dang. Nice.
Yeah. My bad. I totally missed that.
Yeah. Sorry, Bobby.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, Bobby.
Yeah. And then I think the most influential chef for me, so I have Joshua Skeens, Grant Achatz. Did I do a number? Then Ferran Adria, right? Because he, you know, him and the Roca brother, like that, you know, Ed Bulli was it, right? It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the number 1 spot, I'm gonna have to split between Alain Ducasse and Joe Robuchon, but I'm gonna lean more.
It's so fun. I had a conversation with someone the other day that I was like, I split them as well.
Yeah. Cause like for me, they were just so a lot of people don't know this, but I went to go work at Joe Robuchon. It was the reason why I went to Vegas. And,
it was 3 Michelin star that.
Yeah. And my background check didn't go through, whatever, MGM Grand, cause I didn't claim my tinted windows or whatever. But, you know, that for me was, you know, Joe Robuchon, like doing all that research and going down the rabbit hole, you know, was very influential for me for my fine dining career. I do want to say honorable mention, Thomas Keller. I love French Laundry changed my life, man. That book changed my life.
That book changed my life. I
have to say is like Thomas Keller will probably go down
in history as one of
the greatest American chef.
100%.
I don't know if anyone can compete with that title in the United States. Right?
Will I hire any of his staff? Nope.
Right.
And that's no disrespect, but like, it's just true.
I think the greatest American fine dining chef.
Yeah.
You know,
is
important.
Where can, for people that want to follow along, go to your restaurants or follow you on social media, where can people find you?
So Chef Authorized across all platforms. And my restaurants are in Hamilton, Montana, the Bitterroot Valley. We're out in the sticks, but if you like hiking, hunting, or skiing, and you ever find yourself in Missoula, Montana, come on down.
Come on down there, brother.
The last best place in the United States, you know. There's one thing I love about Montana: freedom.
So I'm Chef Jonathan Dearden across all platforms. I'm actually based in D.C. I oversee KNEAD Hospitality and Design as the corporate chef. So we're going to actually have about 13 restaurants here. Most of them are in D.C., but we have 2 in Virginia Beach and 1 in Philly. So yeah, I stay busy. But if you ever, you know, reach out and we'll get you hooked up if you're in the D.C. area or Philly or Virginia Beach.
And on the current season of Top Chef.
Yes. Season 23. Make sure you watch this. Battle it out.
Yeah, watch us battle it out. It's going to be, look, I'm so excited to watch and see what made it in the edits because, you know, we're filming all day. We're mic'd up all day.
Don't say you can't talk about the edits, bro.
Well, because we can talk about what we were there, we experienced it, but what's going to be on, you know, there's a process.
Well,
And
we'll find
I
out
was
when all the 20 lawyers that are at Bravo
one thing I tell you,
cease and desist. Yeah.
one thing I will tell you is that Brandon and I went in with the intention of going at each other's throats.
Yeah.
You know, and that's because we have something to prove here.
Yeah.
You know, we have something to prove. So tune in.
Yeah.
On streaming on Peacock and also on Bravo.
Awesome. Thank you, gents.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right, that's the show. If you liked it, make sure you leave 5 stars, nothing less than 5 stars. If you want more Chefs PSA, go to chefspsa.com. Get yourself some books, get yourself some merch, including Culinary Leadership Fundamentals and the Line Cook Survival Manual. If you want early access to episodes, you can get them on Spotify and Substack by becoming a paid member. The link is in the notes. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
Yo, it's André in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction, stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, class is in session.